So, whistle while you work.
Disney just dropped the first teaser for its live-action Snow White. And instead of casting a spell, it sparked an internet firestorm that's burning hotter than ever. Starring Rachel Zegler as the fairest of them all, and Gal Gadot as the wickedly glamorous evil queen, the trailer was supposed to be a magical moment. Unveiled at Disney's D23 Expo with all the glitz and glam of a Hollywood premiere, fans expected to be enchanted. Zegler looked every bit the princess, serenading us with Whistle While You Work, while Gadot oozed villainous charm as she demanded, "Who's the fairest of them all?"
Who's the fairest one of all?
But just when it seemed like Disney was set for another fairy tale triumph, the 7 CGI dwarfs appeared, and Rachel revealed they were changing up the story completely. You best believe the internet collectively lost its mind, and the backlash was fierce. Instead of basking in the glow of Disney magic, Zegler then was caught in the middle of an online disaster that was only getting messier. Flash forward to D23 2024, when Zegler took center stage to unveil her Snow White reimagining, hoping to win over the critics. But instead of fairy dust, she got hit with the stuff of nightmares, a social media storm. You see, the trailer, featuring Gal Gadot as the gloriously wicked evil queen, and those infamous CGI dwarfs, left fans feeling more meh than magic. And just like that, the haters came out in full force. But the story doesn't end there. In the midst of the Snow White shade, one particularly vile troll decided to take things way too far when he said someone should just end Zegler's life. Of course, given how serious that statement was, Twitter quickly yanked the post for violating its guidelines. But not before Zegler saw it. And boy oh boy did she deliver a clapback worthy of Broadway itself. She just simply tweeted back saying, "Fun fact, I will be dying 8 times a week on Broadway this fall. Get your tickets, Lee." Oh, did we mention she's set to star alongside Heartstopper heartthrob Kit Connor in the upcoming revival of Romeo and Juliet? Now, Zegler's fans rallied around their queen, flooding her feed with love and virtual hugs. Some people called her a champ, while others said, "Never stop being you." In any case, it seems Zegler had all the support she needed while the other half of the world kept firing at her. But the thing is, many people's dislike for the actress isn't something new. It's actually a response that has built up after quite some time. In fact, the backlash reached a point where the actress was being talked about even on news channels for her insufferable attitude.
But you don't seemingly like your own character, so she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat, and that's why people are so annoyed.
You see, when Disney dropped the bombshell in 2021 that Rachel Zegler would be donning the crown as Snow White, you could practically hear the internet gasp. But instead of celebrating this fresh take on a classic, some folks went full troll, and they began throwing shade at Zegler's casting for not being white enough to play the princess with skin as white as snow. Apparently in the 21st century, a little diversity in fairy tales is still too much for some people to handle. The online uproar was as ugly as the evil queen's jealousy, with critics fixated on Zegler's Polish-Colombian roots rather than her star power. Haters questioned why an actress of Latin descent should dare to play a role that's been locked in the Disney vault since 1937. But Zegler, proving she's every bit the princess Disney knew she was, didn't let the trolls rain on her parade. Instead, she took to X to shut down the nonsense with grace and a side of sass. She wrote, "I really, truly do not want to see it," alongside throwback pics of herself as a little girl dressed as, you guessed it, a princess. Turns out this queen has been slaying the royal game since day one. And with a final mic drop, Zegler added that she hoped every child out there believes they could be a princess if they wanted to be. While that claim seems cute and all, some people just aren't having it. In fact, many people have come out and said Rachel's version of Snow White is just too woke. Especially since Zegler said they changed up the original story because being saved by Prince Charming was just too old-fashioned.
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince.
Gone was the damsel in distress waiting for her prince to show up with a kiss. Instead, this Snow White is all about setting her own terms, wielding power, and dreaming about leadership, not true love.
The fact that she's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's the proactive one, and she's the one who set the terms, is what makes it so relevant.
But Zegler didn't stop there. She became a full feminist icon and emphasized that this new Snow White is about embracing a woman's power in the modern world.
The cartoon was made 85 years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power.
Now, if you thought the evil queen's jealousy was fierce, it's nothing compared to the backlash that followed. Social media erupted with cries of "too woke" as anti-woke accounts and conservative media outlets like the Daily Wire sharpened their pitchforks. They even announced it would produce its own version of Snow White, promising a story in line with the values in which it was written. But while the critics fumed, Zegler and Gadot stood their ground, unbothered and unapologetic. After all, they're not just reimagining a classic, they're rewriting the rules. As much as both actresses tried to power through, though, the drama surrounding Disney's new Snow White just continued to get hotter. Until recently, when everything hit a fever pitch. The internet was ablaze after Rachel let slip that she thinks Prince Charming was a creepy stalker and hinted that his scenes could be axed altogether.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird. So we didn't do that this time.
From here on out, the online outrage was crazy, with critics declaring Zegler a walking PR disaster for Disney. Over on TikTok, user @RubenWoodall racked up over 1.3 million likes after blasting Disney for trying to turn Snow White into a girl boss. According to Woodall, the whole point of Snow White's tale isn't about leadership or feminism, and he questioned why every reimagining has to be that the woman is in a position of power, otherwise it's not feminist. Now, he wasn't the only one who was sharpening his pitchfork. Even David Hand, the son of the original 1937 animation's director, couldn't resist chiming in. In a scathing interview with the Daily Telegraph, Hand called Disney's reboot a disgrace and accused the studio of showing no respect for the classic his father helped create. It was quite clear many people were getting offended by the blatant change in the story. But one of the biggest voices around misrepresentation in the movie came from Peter Dinklage. The Game of Thrones star didn't mince words when he slammed Disney for their backward approach to the live-action remake. It seems now his critique has the studio scrambling to do damage control. You see, in a fiery 2022 interview on the WTF with Mark Maron podcast, Dinklage, who has achondroplasia, a form of dwarfism, got real with viewers. He called out Disney for patting itself on the back for casting Zegler as a Latina Snow White, while still clinging to what he described as outdated and offensive portrayal of dwarfs.
There appears to be a sizable problem. Where are the dwarfs?
These are roles made for actors of my stature. I can't go out for the Harrison Ford or the George Clooney roles.
Dinklage's harsh words sent shockwaves through Hollywood, and they very much prompted Disney to quickly issue a statement in hopes of calming the storm. The studio announced that they were taking a different approach with the 7 characters. Their aim was to avoid reinforcing the stereotypes that have haunted the original animated film since 1937. But let's be real, Disney's got its work cut out for them. With backlash coming from all sides, the studio is caught between trying to modernize a beloved classic and navigating the minefield of representation in 2024. Whether their different approach will win over critics like Dinklage or just dig them deeper into controversy remains to be seen. One thing's for sure, this remake is already more drama than any fairy tale ever needed. So what are your thoughts on Rachel Zegler absolutely losing it after Snow White's trailer finally hit our screens? And what do you think about her version of the story? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want to know what Brett Cooper has to say about her fellow Snow White, then this is the next video that you need to watch.